Steelers at Ravens. This is my best bet, and it's the game I'm really looking forward to. So, Marco, I'm going to start off here. I think this is all about the Steelers' run defense. And I actually talked about this on the Dan Beebe show today in Sports Betting on Monday, and we went really in depth on that. I think the Steeler team, without Smith, their defensive end, and he's one of those guys that all the insiders say, oh, how important he is I think since he's been out, they really haven't played a team. New England doesn't want to run. Their short passing is their run game. And the fact of the matter is that Oakland and Buffalo just weren't able to run. And I don't think the fact that the Steelers' run defense is compromised right now has been fully shown to be the case, or exposed might be the better word. And I think that Baltimore might be the team to do it, though I actually have 2 points that mitigate that just a little bit. So I guess before I bring up my points that may mitigate that, you're a Pittsburgh expert. What if it's the Panthers, if it's the Steelers, even the Pirates? What's your record on Pittsburgh games at this point?
We're 9-3 with Pittsburgh games. We had a triple dime play on the
9-3 is great, but you've got isn't it like 50-25
yeah,
or something?
I'm talking this year for football.
Yeah, but just overall.
Yeah, we've averaged over 66% on our games.
So you're locked in. So what you care about, your opinion on Steelers is always valuable. So what's your take on my run game analysis?
Well, it's absolutely true, and I will say one thing. Baltimore will be a team that will try to run the ball against Steelers. It's almost like these two teams are like gladiators when they play each other. They know each other's strengths, and it's like they don't back. Most teams try to avoid the other team's strengths. It's a mentality with these two. They want to pound the ball at it. Baltimore comes out and tries to run against the Steelers to prove that they can, and sometimes I think that's stupid, but your point in this game is very valid.
Now, I think there's two mitigating factors. One, it looks like the Baltimore fullback. Pittsburgh, you can't, speed backs, forget about it. But power backs can sometimes get that fourth yard. And if you can get 4 yards on first down, the Steelers only give up less than 3 yards a carry. So it's usually, hey, I'm going to make an effort to run. Oh, it's 2nd and 9. Mm-hmm. Hey, I don't want to get caught in 2nd and 9 again. I'm going to throw almost every down. But if you can get 4 yards, now all of a sudden it's 2nd and 6, and you can actually run on 2nd down too. And to me, the Baltimore fullback, the power running game being somewhat problematic without him, I think mitigates that deficiency on the Steelers side a little bit. And I also think, and this is getting kind of in depth, but Brett Kiesel, their other defensive end, has also been out for like 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. The Steelers have done this well defensively without both of their D ends. And the fact is, Kiesel almost played last week. He's back. He's having a full week of practice. I think those two things mitigate the run factor just a little bit.
It does. I think the bigger question in the game is the Steeler offense, which we've had 3 games now where, they've had the offensive linemen out. They had the bad game against the Patriots where they had, no protection for Ben. They had a great game against Oakland, which I think Oakland got exposed. Oakland had been, putting up some points, not as good as they were. Last week, in what was definitely a flat spot for the Steelers against Buffalo, you had the situation. The Steelers moved the ball well, but they didn't finish the drives.
See, I don't know if did you watch the game?
I didn't watch the whole game.
Yeah, see, you're not right about it. That's the same thing they're saying on ESPN radio. They're just not right about that. It's really just been a situation. It was a situation where Pittsburgh was up 13-0, and they had total ball control. I think it was 24 minutes to 6 minutes in the first half. It wasn't just 13-0. They dominated. And in the second half, the momentum wasn't really there. Couple 3-and-outs, and then 3-and-outs for Buffalo. And Buffalo had one play. It was a screen play. And it was a little middle screen, and they broke it, which is rare for Pittsburgh. It went like 70 yards or whatever, and it changed the texture of the game. Then Pittsburgh got the ball back, and really Pittsburgh went up and down the field. otherwise, I think the offense played really well except for that flat spot in the third quarter.
But what I said is that the Steelers played well, but they didn't finish the drives because they had to settle for field goals.
But they were all over 40. They had 4 field goals, all over 40 yards. So it was none of that. And when I hear, and maybe it's just a terminology thing, when I hear about finishing drives, and this is what Pittsburgh has done often when they're not doing well in offense, they get down inside the 20 and they kick 25-yard field goals, and it's like they should have got. But when you're kicking 40-yard, and actually the last one was like 41. A couple of them were 46, 47, and then a 49. They actually were just getting into that not the red zone, but the 30 in.
Right.
And their new kicker had an amazing game. He was the MVP of that game.
Absolutely.
So I like the over. So maybe let me get to that point first. I'll make my official projection on that. My best bet is the over. And there's a couple reasons why. One, I think Baltimore's going to try to run more. And I think they're going to be somewhat successful because with Pittsburgh, they're like the first team. I think last week it's right on the border. What is it, 11 games now? They've given up the least yards in NFL history. And I think they might be 20 yards over, but they're within like 20 yards of the least yards in NFL history on the ground through 11 games. This is a historically good run defense. I don't think they're historically good anymore without Aaron Smith, and I don't think that's been exposed yet. So though Kiesel's going to help, I think Baltimore should be able to run a little bit, which is going to open things. You might say, well, if they can run, maybe that means low scoring. No, it means they're not going to be stuck in 2nd and 12, which is going to help the scoring. Number 2, I think the Steelers' defense is somewhat, and I want your opinion on this, somewhat stymied by the officials. I got to tell you something. The fact that the hit, did you see the hit on the highlight?
I saw that.
The fact that hit got penalized was not a sin. It was a mistake. The fact that he got the same penalty that the Raiders player did for punching Big Ben after a play, I find it flabbergasting. And I don't think it can do, I think it has to hurt Pittsburgh a little bit. They're questioning the way they play football and defense.
Absolutely. I mean, the 2 players that it's hurting the most is, Harrison and Troy. I mean,
See, I don't think it's hurting Troy at all.
I think Troy's
Troy's hurt. I mean, his ankle's hurt. He's not practicing. He had a couple of big plays late in that game, and if you just look at the highlights, you're thinking, last year, and especially the year before, you would hear Troy's name 12, 13, 14 times in a game.
He was everywhere on the field.
You can go a quarter and a half and not hear him right now. Now, what they're saying is that roamer, where the guy's kind of able to go where he wants, is Timmons now, and they're letting Troy be a little more locked in, and maybe that's why you're not hearing him as much. But when I don't hear him as much and I hear his ankle's hurting, I'm thinking he's not at 100%.
Good point. One other point that you haven't brought up, this is for the division, obviously, and, this game on Sunday night and the next game that we're going to talk about, you couldn't ask for 2 better games to finish the week out. People are going to look and point out Ben didn't play in the first game. Baltimore went in to Pittsburgh, won in the last 30 seconds, 40 seconds of the game. Joe Flacco pulled it out. I will give you an interesting stat on Joe Flacco. We always get talking about Joe. He's faced the Steelers now 6 times. He's 2-4 against the Steelers straight up. The 2 games he won, Ben Roethlisberger did not play in either one of them.
Interesting.
Last year, the concussion game.
I think psychologically that comeback that Flacco had might help. I think the thing about the Steelers' defense is it's really complicated. Inexperienced quarterbacks don't do well at all. And that's what we've been talking about. Breeze, yeah, he can do well. Brady, he can do well. But Manning, he can do well. But really, this is a defense so complicated, only the best quarterbacks do well. I don't think Flacco's in that category. Though, to be honest, Flacco probably is a little better than I was giving him credit. In the first quarter of the year, I thought Flacco was literally, certainly in the bottom half of quarterbacks. I don't think he was in the top 16. I think now he may be.
And I think you answered your own question, too, by saying the way that he did engineer that comeback, that gives a guy, once you do it, once you do it, you believe you can do it.
Vegas doesn't believe in Baltimore. Vegas has him 9th. A lot of people think they're the best. I hear all the time they're the best. I agree with Vegas. I look at this team and say their defense isn't quite as good, and their offense isn't really that good. They've got a couple of big-name receivers. Again, they're a good team, but I got to tell you, I think they play well against bad teams. I mean, they'll blow you out. Don't worry. But they seem to lose more of the close games than they win.
Well, I think it's, last week's a perfect example. They totally dominated Tampa Bay most of that game, yet the final score, you're looking at a 7-point margin because they gave up that late touchdown that made the final score look close. And I think
where do you put Baltimore in the NFL?
In the NFL or the AFC?
NFL.
The whole NFL, I'll probably put them about 7th.
All right, so lower than, I think they're 4 right now in the ESPN poll, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so one last reason on the over, then I get a couple of points, and I'll let you close. This O-line, you're talking about the injuries of the O-line. Look, the left tackle's gone. He's out for the year, Starks. Otherwise, they've got everyone back. And if anything, they've actually replaced the right guard, I forget his name, with a guy named Foster. And Foster supposedly is playing really well. Jonathan Scott, at the left tackle replacement, is playing a little better. And Pouncey, their center, is doing outstanding. I think this line's coming together. I mean, they ran, I tell you, late in that game against Buffalo, our running back, Mendenhall, had 155 yards. I mean, and it wasn't like one long run or anything. I think the offensive line's coming together. That's another reason I like the over. This series, only 2 of the last 9 games in this series have gone under. 6-2-1 over. I just think people think defense, but I think that with these 2, I think it's a little outdated on the Baltimore side. And I think that all the other factors, and this is 40, I think the over is a strong play here.
I have no opinion on this game at this time, but I can't argue with the points that you're bringing out.
That's smart. 2 last points. Steelers rarely underdogs.
Right.
They've covered 7 of 8 as dogs.
Point being, Steelers are a sound fundamental team that doesn't beat themselves.
Give them points. You got to feel good.
Good defense, getting points kind of goes back to the Nebraska game.
Last thing, this is probably the most eye-popping stat. Baltimore is 44-20 at home ATS. So this is 64 games, so you're looking at 8 games a year. So you're looking at 8 seasons almost. Well, exactly. I guess that's going to count playoffs, you'd think. 8 seasons, so it's even back past Harbaugh. This team does well at home, which makes me, not want to jump on the Pittsburgh side all that much.
It's a tough ball game. You're getting, I think, a little bit of value in the line with the Steelers this week because of public perception. Anybody that looked at that game last week, even though Pittsburgh dominated early, really the way it
all
played
the talk
out,
was the guy dropped the touchdown.
Absolutely.
Now it's your turn to continue the conversation in the comments section with Marco and me. And next up, we're talking Monday Night Football, and you have a chance to win $100, no risk, no obligation.